Spokenly, I haven't thought about flying for a long time. I haven't dreamed of that moment when I was alone above the clouds for a long time. I haven't dreamed of waking up in a room surrounded in blue and green grass for more years than I could dream of remembering. I haven't walked back into the past or scratched on the doors of my origins, where it all came from, since I held up that cape for the last time.
Return to Kent Town 10th Year Anniversary Edition is a revised version of Andy Ann's first poetry book. The book can be purchased from Amazon and it contains numerous additional material.
Spokenly. Hi, it's Andy Ann from Spoken Label. Thank you today for streaming or downloading another episode of Spoken Label. Spoken Label was originally set up on beginning of 2016 and as of speaking has currently nearly 300 sessions. The full archive is available on Spoken Label bandcamp.com. Although it is available for free for stream and download if you wish, I am always grateful for any sort of kind of donation to enable me to keep the running costs of this podcast going. And enjoy. Take care. Bye bye. Spoken Label.
Hi guys, Andy Ann, Spoken Label, back in the house. We're on Zoom again today, and we're over to Wales today. Lovely part of the world here as well. So I've got a writer with me, and she doesn't know this, but I picked up a book actually last week, and by a guy called, if I can find it, I'll embarrass her, but I can't. I've got it hidden away. I think it's Chris Cunningham, if my memory's correct. He sent me a book over, and she's done a testimonial on the back of the book for him. So it's a lovely lady called Natalie Holborow, or Nat as I'm going to call her today. So Nat, first of all, would you like to introduce yourself to everybody? Obviously, tell them where you're from and what led you into your creativity, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, so I'm Nat. I write as Natalie Ann Holborow. I'm author of And Suddenly You Find Yourself, which was released in 2017. I released that in the Calcutta Literary Festival. Last year, I brought out my second collection called Small, again with Parthian Books. And I also last year brought out a co-written book called The Wrong Side of the Looking Glass, which is a feminist retelling of all the fairy tales and different stories and different myths with Mariella Stunning. I'm also co-editor of the Cheval anthology, and I work in digital marketing in Swansea.
You can tell, busy lady, indeed, there, aren't you? So now, obviously, with all the digital stuff, then and your writing, does it always run hand in hand then for you? Does it?
I found that it has, because I originally worked in copywriting for a long time, and I find that I prefer digital marketing because it requires you to be quite creative and respond to things as they're happening, and that links so well with how I write poetry, because I'm constantly responding to the world around me, or if I'm writing blogs, I'm very aware of what people are talking about, what's trending. And digital marketing just pushes you to think outside the box in the same way that writing does, that perhaps copywriting, if you're writing to a client's house style, or you're writing to a very strict brief, doesn't always allow you to do. You've got a little bit more freedom, I find, with marketing.
Yeah, I think so straight away. Because my partner Amanda, she does both of them herself, and I know what you mean with that. So they run hand in hand, but they are quite different in their own way. So
yeah.
Now, what led you into your writing originally then?
Originally, I've always loved books. I think even as a kid, if I had a choice of things to do in nursery class, it would always be the book corner. And as I became older, then went to secondary school, I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and I started getting bullied. And the way that I would escape would be to escape into books and to create my own worlds through writing. And it was as much a therapy for me and a way of release as it was something that I secretly always wanted to do. I felt like I should be going for a different career path, because careers advisors don't always see writing as a proper job. So I was pushed towards medicine, and it was at the last minute that I decided that I didn't quite get the last grade, the biology grade. I missed up by 1 mark for medical school and went for English Lit instead. And honestly, it was the best failure I've ever had, because I'm on the right track now.
I think you are, because it's to a certain extent, it's well known I'm 49, I'm a lot older than you. But when I was at school, you weren't encouraged to want to be a writer. I remember it full when I was at school, they're saying, right, Andrew, what office do you think you want to work in, what company, or what warehouse? And I thought, I don't want to do anything. So, yeah, that's what I mean. But I think sometimes it comes as a natural way to yourself, like that lucky miss, or bad miss, you might say, lucky miss, it led you in the direction you want to go.
Yeah. And I get really tired as well about people seeing writing as it'll always be a hobby, or there's a lot of things that they keep back. They say that if you do English lit or creative writing, then you need to be a teacher and there's no other option. But I later found out about things like copywriting and marketing and instructional design, and there's all these different jobs that can inspire you and encourage you to keep writing that you just don't know about in school.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think as well as, and this is what happened to me when I became a poet myself just over 20 years ago. I was what I didn't think I'd end up doing half the things I've done since. And this applies to you as well, where I think a lot of it is just a natural progression, really, isn't it? Because doors open, don't they? Like sometimes unexpectedly as well. So that's why. But yeah, I want to ask you, obviously, then, you told us a fair bit about yourself here straight away. So now tell us about your first book then, first of all, then. And Suddenly You Find Yourself then.
And Suddenly You Find Yourself was a book that I started writing when I started my creative writing masters in Swans University. And it was around that time that I got into doing open mic sessions, which really opened up doors. I was terrified the first time I went along.
I remember mine as well, yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone can remember their first open mic session, because you think as a writer that you sort of hide away, you'll never have to engage with people, you just have to write onto the page. But you need to connect with people, and you need to be quite outspoken, and you need to make your voice heard, which is something you just don't expect. I went along to that, and I took my book of poems, or at least my sort of notebook, and I remember I just drunk a bottle of carbon before I got there. I could barely see the sheet, but after getting that round of applause and realizing, oh my god, the room are actually on your side, they don't want to see you fail, I just got addicted to doing that. And ever since, I've just really loved doing more in the way of performance poetry and going and doing festivals and readings. And it was the encouragement of that Swansea writing community that gave me the confidence to write the first book. And it got published out in Calcutta with a trip with British Council, Parthian, and Literature Wales and BCB Wales.
Brilliant. Now, for people obviously don't know this book then, what was the inspirations behind this first book then? Because it's a wordy title, but I like it.
It is. I can't remember what the first title was very short. It was actually Bite, which was much, much shorter. And now it's on Suddenly You Find Yourself. It just felt right. That's taken from one of the poems, which was about feeling a bit lost in my university years. But the collection itself is about difficult times with family, or it's about mythology. It's all the things that were inspiring me at the time. An awful lot of the subject matter is to do with communicating with my sister. At the time, we had a few years where perhaps we didn't quite get on, and I missed her because we'd grown up and we'd been inseparable. Writing was my way of communicating with her, even if she wasn't reading those words. I just felt like I was connecting with her just to put it onto the page. And yeah, I feel like looking back, there are things maybe I'd changed about that collection, or maybe I'd write a little more, make it a little longer, but I feel like it captured everything that had to be written in that moment. And I'm glad that I stopped there where I did.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I think always with the first collection, I know with my first collection, the lady I saw yesterday, the same thing as you actually, was that first collection it's as of the time for you.
Yeah.
And I think you might end up, I think I've regretted a bit my first book, but it was a case of it is what it is at the time. Yeah. That's why. So, and you can't take it away. So I think it's just great you got it done. Then you can move on to your second collection, can't you? And wherever it leads next to that, I would say. Yeah. So now
it's kind of a good thing as well to look back and think, oh, I could have done things better, because that means you've developed along the way and you've learned something. So it's never a bad thing if you go back and change. It would be worse if you were completely blind to it and you were still writing in the same style years later.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you. So I think as writers are always developing and moving on, certainly. Now, which obviously you've told us before, you've had a second collection come out and a split book. Which one came out second? Well, I don't know which really.
They came out very close to each other. This next one, even though Small was finished first, which is my collection, The Wrong Side of the Looking Glass, the launch was before that. But that was written a lot more quickly, I think, because there were two of us working on it, and it just seemed to work so well, working in that way. We've actually carried on, and we're going to be working on more in the future.
Brilliant. Now it's Mary Ellis Dunning, is that correct, isn't it? That you've done
That's
this split
right.
book? Yeah. I wanted to make sure I got her name right. Okay, tell us how we met Mary then.
So I met Mary through the Terry Hetherington Awards and the Robin Reeves Prize. And what I love about the writing community is you could have like someone who's won first place, someone who's won second place, or we could have a group of people who have like some have been commended, but you don't see them as your competition. You just see, oh great, I've got a friend that I can talk to about writing now. And it's nice that we've made that communication. We've realized that our styles are quite similar. So we thought, okay, we could, instead of like having a rivalry here, which just isn't conducive to creativity at all. What happens if we work together? And we've become really good friends, and it just so happened to work working together like that.
Yeah, I think it does. When you're working on books with people, it's great because I think there's a reaction. You're bouncing off each other all the time. Because I've done 2 books with my partner and a couple of books with a friend of mine. So it's like you get something from it. It makes you look at things in different ways, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, and it makes you feel less alone as well, because you think that everyone's writing things perfectly, but it kind of knocks down that fourth wall that you don't see during the writing process and all that messiness that's involved with putting a poem together. But you're letting someone into that, and it makes you quite vulnerable, but it makes you a better writer as well, because you're always accountable for someone else.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the books I've co-wrote, it's great. You're showing these to the other people, and they're saying to you, oh no, how about try that with it to get the pieces flowing together more. So did you find that yourself with it? Was it co-writing, or it's bouncing ideas all the time off each other?
Yeah, we talk about ideas like female characters we'd love to explore, and then we'd choose 2, and then we'd have a go at writing those 2 characters, swap poems, see what works, what doesn't, and then we'd try and edit each other's poems, send them back, swap ideas. We were just working in shared Google documents, and then at the end we'd always have that aha moment, we finally got it. And if one struggled with one character, perhaps the other one would get it. So you were never stuck at any point for long.
Yeah, of course. I guess sometimes it's that pushing. You push yourself along, don't you? No, definitely. I mean, you can write quicker sometimes. If you get the right person you're doing it with, you definitely bounce off each other. Now, what made you want to go and look at do it as the Looking Glass then?
I think that was about the way we look at ourselves as women, and the idea of being the wrong side of the looking glass, about the way that we're reflected by society as well, and just stepping through it and seeing what the real stories would be, or just stepping into the minds of these women who are portrayed as villains, and what were their motivations, how can we make them more human. And we just agreed on that title, and even down to the cover, Mari and I just both came up with this idea of the hand mirror, and our publisher suggested that as well. It was like all 3 of us just got that sense that was the right image and the right title for the book.
Right, getting on. No, so I was just curious. It's an interesting thing to approach. Good luck with that. So brilliant. Okay, well, that being the case then, do you want to tell us about your? Okay, now we're backtracking ourselves. Your second full-length book then, which is obviously Small.
My second, yeah, that's right. Small was a bit of a surprise, but because I'd been struggling to write since my first collection. You have that. I don't know whether it's the same as finishing some huge event and you just think, oh my god, that's it. I'm exhausted. I feel like I've got a part of me missing, because that book that you've worked so hard on is suddenly gone, and you think, oh, perhaps I'll never be able to write again. And I just so happened to be going out for a run. And I had this idea of this character just sitting on my back. And that character was my negative voice. And I'd suffered with an eating disorder in the past. And I've never been able to think of a way of characterizing it in therapy sessions. And I thought of this tantruming child just clinging to my back and then suddenly gone quiet. And it was kind of like in the movement of myself running while I was by the river by the sunrise. And the name Small just came into my head. And then I got home, started writing before work. And by the end of the day, I was just desperate to get home to carry on writing this thing. And I'd written the entire book within 6 months. It was just one of these unexpected things.
Yeah, I've had bits of pieces writing like that before now, where it's somewhere it's just come out of nowhere, it grabs you, doesn't it? So, I know, like the second book I wrote myself, mine took 5 years to write my second book because I couldn't get I couldn't get it right, and I think I went through about 200 poems on it before I got the actual final thing. So, but yeah, no, I get it. Sometimes it's your way in it. There's something like it clicks with you, and before you know it, you've said, "Oh, I've got to write that." And then 6 months down the line, it's done. So, brilliant. Now, okay, what are the themes in the second book then, if people are interested in them?
So I've got, like, the main theme is the character Small and having lived with an eating disorder. I've got quite a bit written there on type 1 diabetes, which I've struggled to write about for years, but all of a sudden it's very difficult to write about certain aspects, and I can't put that into a character because there's too much anger around it. But it's starting to come out in writing now. I'd written a bit about the trip to India. To some of the poems that we'd written as part of that are in there. And the mythology, that's always going to be part of my writing, the Greek mythology.
Yeah, I noticed that from researching. I know you've always had a big interest in Greek mythology for quite some time as well. And it's interesting to talk to somebody as a fellow diabetic writer like you, because I've not actually had the guts to go and write about my struggle with diabetes yet. I might yet now, because I know a fellow diabetic writer. But yeah, that's why it's just something I've not been able to approach, because it's something like I said, it's something that's just too close to home.
It's very difficult to separate it from yourself. If you're thinking about it 24/7, you never quite get a break from it. You can't pull it off to write about it, if that makes sense, because it can even affect your concentration when you're writing. So how do you separate that?
Yeah, it's just can't do it. I just can't do it. One of these days I will. I can tell you, I'll probably shut now, but it's not going to be yet. So now, okay, I want to talk to you about, obviously, you've done other things, haven't you, as well, besides your poetry? And I'm looking at your website where you've done a lot of learning and development content as well. Now, this is really interesting, because like I said, you've done an extensive range of blog articles, expert guide in the learning and development industry. And how do you find, obviously, I don't want to go into all of that there, because there's quite a lot of extensive stuff here when you talk about marketing as well. How do you find you doing work like that in contrast to your poetry? Is it like you have to flick us like a switch in your brain, do you?
Do you know what? It complements it really well, because that is what I do with my marketing job. It's to do with a learning platform, and I find the whole learning and development community is so supportive, and I love the appreciation for continuously learning and developing, and the way failure is seen as intrinsic to that process. I love getting immersed in research in the same way that I'd love to I enjoy researching something for a poem. I get excited by new developments in that industry. I enjoy going to conferences and meeting people, and it's very much aligned to what I do with writing. It's that, yeah, exactly. It's that appreciation for continuously developing.
Yeah, I think so as well. That's where you reflect straight away well in yourself, that, because now if people are wondering, obviously, like, if you look at your website and stuff, I know obviously like, you do a lot of commissions, don't you, as well, people if they want to. So tell people about your commissions then. What do you do?
These have been a bit of a mix. So last year I did a commission for the National Waterfront Museum. So to give people a bit of boost in lockdown, the museum staff did a video based around a poem that myself and Aneurin Caradog wrote. So he did the Welsh one and I did the English one. And we got people to tweet how they found the experience of lockdown. And then we took those tweets and then wrote a poem inspired by fragments of what people had said, and then recorded the video with ourselves speaking and with museum staff speaking. And it was a gorgeous video, and it was quite emotional as well to see it all come together. And another commission I did was for Freelance Foundation, and that was about journeys, and it involved a lot of writers from all over, and we all worked on either photography or art or essays or poetry, and it's a beautiful anthology that was recently released.
Brilliant. Now, the last thing I want to talk to you about today, or last thing two, is obviously you were telling me before, obviously at the beginning of things, weren't you, as well, about your co-editor of when you're doing your Chevelle. Now, right. Tell us about that then.
So this is part of the Terry Hetherington Awards. This has been going for quite a long time. So it's set up in memory of the late Terry Hetherington, who was really supportive of young writers, and was a really talented poet himself. So this gives an opportunity every year for young writers in Wales to get their work published, and it's huge recognition as well. So this has really opened the doors for a lot of the writers that you see in Wales now. So, for example, Rhian Elizabeth, Tyler Keeble, Gemma King, Sean Thomas Owen. Christina Thatcher was another one. There's just loads of them. It's a huge community, and I've gone from like entering that when I was 18 and now co-editing it. It's so exciting to see the entries that come in and see the passion for writing that young people have. It's not always, the doors aren't always open, especially from people from working class backgrounds, and there's still that elitism that we need to try and unpick in poetry especially. So for an award like that to happen, it's vital for giving people confidence and for opening doors.
Yeah, no, I agree completely with it. Like I said, I think poetry as this commodity, if that's right, it has changed a lot. It's come on in the last 10 years massively. And I think in another 10 years, and in exactly the same situation, it's going to keep getting better and better. And you'll be able to get more and more younger people in the face of people from other backgrounds. Yeah, I agree. Okay, now to conclude with them, is there anything you want to reveal next? What you got coming up next? Like future plans?
Future plans? What have I got next? Well, I've got a few mentoring sessions that are coming up. I'm currently trying to get a pamphlet published at the moment, which is a medical themed one. And I'd like to go back to fiction writing. So I've got a short fiction piece which is coming out in July with Litero Journal. And I think then, now that I've got the bug for that, I'd like to go back into writing fiction. It's just about sitting there and facing the blank page. I feel like I've lost my confidence a little bit, so maybe getting the submissions out first will help.
I think fiction is completely different to my writing poetry. It's just, I think if you get out of the loop with it, you can struggle to get back into it, because I'm dyslexic and I can write poetry, great fiction I've struggled with for years, and I've only just got back into it myself. It's just got to keep pushing yourself, I think, haven't you? So keep telling yourself that blank page will go away if it gets something wrote on it.
Yeah.
No, good luck with your definitely future plans now.
Oh, thank you.
People want to find out more about you, Natalie, where are the best going to conclude with?
I think go over to my website, natalieholborow.com, and I've got a blog on there just to help people who are at all stages of the writing process. And if ever I come across a particular challenge or problem in writing, I like to just chat to people and think more about it and put up a blog post. And the feedback that I've had is that it's helped people either overcome writer's block or self-doubt, or just for book recommendations, really. And I'm happy for anyone to contact me as well if ever they have any questions.
Yeah, no, I agree. Good luck with it, definitely. So, right, well, that's all my questions. So we're going to let you get composed and you get a few poems ready for us. So okay. It's been a really good chat today. I really enjoyed this. So thank you, Natalie.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.
See you all in a minute, guys.
Spoken, mate.
Hi, guys. Okay. Straight off Natalie. She's got 5 poems for us. Over to you, Natalie.
Okay. Medea. I stand in the bedroom, sweatless, admit to the dagger, the rage, and the kids who looked like you, had the eye of the cool Aegean with Argonaut bravado and a traitor's blood. Our babies. I nursed them with love and a knife to save them from sins like you. Our lullabied young. Like you, they were forked in the tongue. But I was once young, a charming girl, head over claws in love with you, protective, faithful as any good angel, my copious light bleaching a brother's bones. You could say I became obsessed. I had you possessed, but Corinth tore us apart. Still, I can't resist revenge, death knell shaking the house to its dead foundations, the children's gasping surprise, oh, the look in your eyes when you found them coiled like little white worms, or the curl of a gorgon's hair. She may be princess, but I'm a queen, Medea, monster maternal with blood in my breast and a glint in my milk-white eye. Revenge is a kick in the womb. 7 miles down and counting. It is a holy place, with shattered glass that sparkles behind wooden benches, with gulls for teeth. The roaring beach braids a seam of foam and stitches it neat, in violent proximity to lifeboat stations and rattling streets, a footfall landing like blizzards. There are panicked birds in your feet, the heart snug in your rib like a prisoner. You know what to do. Strike one foot in front of the other, strike two. Unspooled from your ribbon of grief, you hammer the sand into flying heaps that churn from your heels like mountains. 7 miles down and counting.
Brilliant stuff. Great first two pieces there on that one. So what are those 2 poems? Where are those 2 poems from, if people are interested, before we start?
Okay, so the first one, Medea, is from And Suddenly You Find Yourself. And the second one is one that I wrote for the Running Punks community on Twitter. So that you can find on my social media accounts.
Brilliant. Okay, right. Well, there you go on to your third one now then.
Gabriel. Gabriel is slumped now, rolling stars between his fingers, waiting for a cry. All night long, he has stalked the hills, startled sheep, washed his wings in bitter streams, squeezed clouds with shaking hands. The labour was long. Joseph had set down his wood blocks, stood uselessly between woman and manger, patted Mary's fists. In a stable, bent like a tired horse, a saviour flings out his limbs, gasps for air, kicks miracles into straw. Kids scarper like geckos through deserts. Shepherds quake in the dark. Gabriel yanks out his trumpet, puffs its dusty note. At this sudden art, the world turns its head from the stuporous earth, lilies twisting for rain.
Brilliant. Again, great stuff this today. Great one. So is that from, which one's that? Where's that from then? People are interested again.
That's from Small, and the next one will be from Small as well.
Brilliant. Okay.
Okay. Diagnosis, 10th of December, 1998. The doctor shows us a cartoon kid, half naked, grinning stupidly from ear to ear, with all her guts on show. He points out the pancreas, a slimy cluster of grapes about this size, squeezes his fist to demonstrate, so I do the same with a tiny hand, wince as the cannula shifts. He tells me it's okay to feel confused, that it's a lot to take in, but he's talking now to my parents, trying to smile, eyes hardened to moons. I ask to go home, but there are things to do. Blood rolled to a minuscule ruby, bald at the end of my finger. Voodoo pins to master. Do you understand? We sit in silence on the drive home, hands raw and ringing. Mam's handbag trills with needles, slim vials of insulin, a parting gift. I panic about blood glucose. My sorry bones are bruised like a plum from the car seat. For a moment, I'm glad they don't get it. Mam smokes the shock of us through the window of Dad's Mondeo. We discuss anything, but this bunch of grapes useless inside me, a bobbing goldfish flipped over.
Oh, God, that one hit me. That point just hit me hard there. It has. I'm going to be shivering that one. But excellent, excellent, definitely so. But you like it's. Have you found enough sick time? digressing slightly, because I got registered diabetes when I was 38 or 39, actually. In your case, you were barely, you were childhood diabetes, weren't you? So
Yeah, I was 8. I think that poem took ages and ages to write, and it's still very, it hasn't got the detailed imagery that others do, because I can't get it to go like that. It's just very matter of fact and quite detached.
Yeah, no,
that's the only way. Yeah,
I think when you write something like that, yeah, that's the only way you do it. You've got to be full on, basically, straight in the face of it. So no, I get it completely there. Okay, well, we're on to the 5th piece now, aren't we? So if I had a trumpet, I'd play it. It's a big conclusion for you, Natalie, but it's not.
Okay, I'll give you one of the collaborative ones that I wrote with Mari.
Please, yes, please.
So this one is Queen of Hearts. Most of all, he's loyal, tedious, whipped like a cowering hound. I shrink him with orders outrageous, crunch gold to mulch across rose gardens, demand devil red for the sheer hell of it. My face blooms to a fat heart at the sight of them, pale, moonish slivers of petal. Someone hasn't been listening. I hear them snigger between brushstrokes, her menopausal majesty, her highness of hysteria. A pearl of sweat rolls cleanly between my cleavage. Look at me now, sucking gales into my lungs, ready to blow, thundering from heights like an eagle, but in truth I'm bored of beheadings, death-tolling decibels, of shunting my weight through gardens to keep the boys in line. These preposterous, spade-specked props, two-dimensional, trembling like paper. Still more man than this matrimonial buffoon quivering under his crown, smacking jam from his lips. Let me tell you, girls, I'm bored out of my jewelled head in ornamental gardens, twirling this heart-print skirt, the wrong side of the looking glass, ruling over roses when I should be ruling nations.
Fantastic. Great way of finishing the session off today. I've really enjoyed that, Natalie. So I'm going to go out after. I've just been looking at Amazon before. I'm going to get your book you two have wrote now after this podcast. That's why I've got to get it from my Kindle straight away. So, but anyway, Natalie, it's been a pleasure today.
Oh, thanks so much.
Really enjoyed it. So hang around. I do need to speak to you off mic, sort of you bits and pieces out. But I've really enjoyed today. It's been a great session. So, okay, guys and girls. That's it for today. So, as Don Callis says over Impact Wrestling, stay safe and stay over. And we'll see you all next time. Take care, guys.
Spoken, mate.